It's the highest of holiest days for all the people who are Jewish around the world today, Yom Kippur. And I'm not Jewish, but I know a lot of Jewish people who in my life, and I know that this is a time of great contemplation and a sense of asking for and allowing yourself to forgive. What a beautiful thing to have a week in the year to really set aside for deep spiritual contemplation of the highest regard. Of course, our everyday is an opportunity for spiritual contemplation. Because forgiveness is such a big piece of this, and I've been thinking about this a lot. This weekend, I had some profound experiences with some of my hospice patients that made me contemplate forgiveness a lot, and how our ability to forgive and to be forgiven can directly impact our capacity to let go and be free. So I wanted to read you a piece about forgiveness. This is Consolations. I've read from this book before by David Whyte. He's a wonderful poet and writer. All right, so this is what his musings on forgiveness. Before I start this, think about your own personal forgivenesses, whether it's something that you need to feel forgiven for, or something you're struggling to forgive in your life for someone else. But also think of it individually, but also think of it globally. There's so much happening right now in the social justice realm, where the need for forgiveness and the need to be forgiven and to forgive is really at the height of our awareness at the moment. So think personally and globally around this. So forgiveness. Forgiveness is a heartache and difficult to achieve, because strangely, it not only refuses to eliminate the original wound, but actually draws us closer to its source. To approach forgiveness is to close in on the nature of the hurt itself, the only remedy being, as we approach its raw center, to reimagine our relation to it. It may be that the part of us that was struck or hurt can never forgive, and that strangely, forgiveness never arises from the part of us that was actually wounded. The wounded self may be the part of us incapable of forgetting, and perhaps not actually meant to forget, as if, like the foundational dynamics of the physiological immune system, our psychological defenses must remember and organize against any future attacks. After all, the identity of the one who must forgive is actually founded on the very fact of having been wounded. Hold on, there's some people entering. Stranger still, it is that wounded, branded, unforgetting part of us that eventually makes forgiveness an act of compassion rather than one of simply forgetting. To forgive is to assume a larger identity than the person who was first hurt, to mature and bring to fruition an identity that can put its arm not only around the afflicted one within, but also around the memories seared within us by the original blow, and through a kind of psychological virtuosity, extend our understanding to the one who first delivered it. I think that's one of the hard parts. Forgiveness is a skill, a way of persevering, a way of preserving clarity, sanity, and generosity in an individual life, a beautiful way of shaping the mind to a future we want for ourselves, an admittance that if forgiveness comes through understanding, and if understanding is just a matter of time and application, then we might as well begin forgiving as soon as possible. To forgive is to put oneself in a larger gravitational field of experience, that the one that first seemed to larger than the one that first seemed to hurt us. We reimagine ourselves in the light of our maturity, and we reimagine the past in the light of our new identity. We allow ourselves to be gifted by a story larger than the story that first hurt us and left us bereft. At the end of life, the wish to be forgiven is ultimately the chief desire of almost every human being. In refusing to wait, in extending forgiveness to others now, we begin the long journey of becoming the person who will be large enough, able enough, and generous enough to receive at the very end that absolution ourselves. So let's go ahead and close your eyes and sit up straight and tall, and take a moment to allow yourself to contemplate any piece of that that touched you, speaks to you. Allow yourself to become grounded. However you're seated, whether it's in a chair, on the floor, or make sure you're comfortable. Come into a place where your body is at ease. There's a sense of yielding and grounding possible through whatever's touching the floor, your sit bones, or touching support, your sit bones, your shins, your feet. And take a moment to allow that weight to be a little heavier, feeling the connection to the earth. Feel yourself expand upward and grow, finding some lightness through your spine, creating space where you can find it. Allow your shoulders to soften, allow the collarbones to open. And just bounce your head right over your spine. Find the effortlessness within the effort as much as possible. Notice your face. See if you can let go, release any tension. The ways expressions move across your face, all expressions. See if you can release them and become that blank slate. With all the space that you are cultivating, breathe a deep breath in and out. Be like that open window where the breeze can just flow in all directions. And just examine if forgiveness is difficult for you, both in the receiving or forgiving yourself, as well as in the offering of forgiveness to others. What restriction lands in your body? What tension pattern, what holding, what denying happens in your physical being when you struggle? And even if the mind is challenged by the thought patterns necessary to forgive, can you come into the body and open those spaces? Bring room for flow, movement, breath. Let's place our hands together at your heart and bow in. How can your practice support you today? What is it that you need? All right, and then let's release the hands and come onto your back. All right, so when you come to lie down, enjoy. Okay, so we just get to shift gears a bit from the standing and sitting that you've been doing for however long you've been awake, right? So just see what it feels like to rearrange your orientation to gravity, to the earth. Let your bones spread out and settle for a moment. And take a deep breath here. And if we know that the challenge of forgiveness ends up landing in our body somewhere, find those places and let your practice be about a sense of opening, a sense of creating energetic flow through those parts of your body. The breath is our guiding light to cultivate this flow. So keep the burner flowing. Keep your awareness on the breath as much as you can. All right, and then stretch your arms overhead if it's comfortable. If your arms don't go overhead easily, no problem. Just stretch them out away from the torso wherever you are comfortable. Stretch your right side a little bit longer, so maybe the right heel extends a little further.
And then move to the left and just open up. See what the sides of your bodies feel like today. Notice what this does to your nervous system, to stretch your arms overhead. Do you have a sense of change in your breath? Do you want to hold your breath or yawn or squeeze? Follow any impulses that you have in your body. And then bring the knees into the chest and rock around a little bit. Just sense, how's your back body? Such a part of us that we don't, really pay attention to a whole lot unless we're consciously trying. So bring your awareness there. Feel what it feels like to rock across your sacrum, to feel your spine. All right, and keep the right knee into the chest. Stretch your left leg long on the floor and roll out your ankles. Wake up all the muscles around your calves, your shins, the outsides of your lower legs. Feel your feet broaden, wiggle out your toes, get the bottom of your feet to wake up like there's eyes on the bottom of your feet. Feel a deep squeeze. So as far in as your knee and hip will allow, give a good squeeze into that compression and flexion. And then let's change legs. Left knee into the chest. And remember, you can always take different vectors of movement for your knee. So if you bring your knee in and you get a little catch in your hip or in the knee, you can always bring your knee out to the side a little bit more. You can always hold behind your knee if knee flexion is difficult for you. So just make any subtle changes that you need to. Feel your feet wiggle around. Open the bottom of your feet. See if they can look around. Be as sensitive as your palms. And then let's bring both knees into the chest. And remember you can hold behind knees or on top of shins. Bring your knees, swinging them out in whatever trajectory of movement feels good and back in again. So for me, I like kind of little semicircles. My hips like to kind of go on a arc, but for other people, maybe your legs like to just go straight out and back in. Maybe you like big full circles. Just wake up the hip joints. So, notice, do you have the same range of motion in your left and right sides or not? If you have any tenderness or pain, or know that you need to take extra care of a hip joint, just notice that now. And then let's put our feet down onto the ground a little bit wider than our hips. Bring your arms out to the sides and let's just windshield wiper your knees and open up the low back, the side waist, front of the hips. Just what are you feeling as you drop your knees left and right? You can move as quick or as slow as you want. Try turning your head in opposition to the knees if you want to. Stay within the range of motion that feels best for your body. See if you can, color right up to the lines of your range instead of going past. But also don't shy away from your range either. So get to know yourself. Get to know yourself today, which is different than how you felt yesterday. Spread your arms and legs wide on the floor, navel all the way stretching to your tips. So you form a big starfish or X on the floor. Exhale, knees to your chest, chin up, squeeze in a little bit. Let's do a couple more of the starfishes, opening up from your center to the feet, the hands, the crown, the tail. Exhale and draw in, chin up, squeeze toward the midline. One more time. Take a deep breath. Follow your breath pace, not my breath pace. And then let's go ahead and roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So always remember you can support your wrists in any way you want. So if you want to put your forearms on blocks, or you can also take fists on the floor to keep your wrists aligned. And let's start moving through some cat-cows. Arching the spine, taking the range of motion that feels good. So let's enjoy the body, enjoy the breath. Let yourself warm up and open up. See if you can ripple through each vertebrae, noticing the space between your vertebrae as you open the back and as you open the front of your spine. Is your breath going with you? Is your breath guiding you? Let it be the leader on the trail instead of the follower. And then feel free to move around. So you can do some circles with your hips. You can sway from side to side. You can move your shoulders, neck around. See if you can feel that your shoulder blades can slide around on the ribs. The pelvis has lots of range of motion. Same with your neck. So try not to think too much. Just let your body be intelligent and move how it wants to. And then exhale and release your hips back toward the heels and stretch into child's pose. Your arms can go overhead. Remember, if your shoulders are bothering you, first maybe just try turning your palms toward each other, maybe taking your hands wider or closer or down at your sides if that's not available. Relax your forehead into the floor if it goes that far. And just notice where the flexion in your knees and hips land. Do you have balance? Are you leaning to one side or the other? See if you can pay attention to the way the breath is moving down the spine. Can you breathe all the way to your sacrum? Does it feel good to be here? And if it doesn't, what can you adjust? Walk the hands over to the left side of your mat. Open up the right rib cage. See if you can let the breath touch and tickle the inner rib cage. Feel the inner slope of the bones where the lungs and the ribs meet. Drop weight into the pelvis. Relax the base of the skull. Let's walk our hands over to the other side, over to the right. Feel a sense of weight coming down into the hips wherever your flexion goes. Relax your head. Try not to take tension through your eyes, your jaw, your tongue, the base of your skull. Everything is melting. Open up the rib cage for breath. All right, let's come back up onto all fours. Have your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, and reach the right arm up in the air. Remember, if bringing your arm out to the side is not comfortable, try bringing it in front of you and then up. Sometimes this is an easier range for your shoulder. Drop that shoulder down onto the ground and find a gentle twist. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Try to keep the hips over the knees instead of sliding off to the side. Can you breathe into the back of your body? Pay attention to the hidden places. You know, a lot of times the need for us to forgive old wounds, they hide out, right? How many times have you had something that a grudge you're holding, hiding out somewhere in your mind, a little crevice in your mind or a little crevice in your body? Inhale, reach that arm all the way up to the sky and place that hand down onto the ground. So bringing things to the light. Reach the other arm up. Exhale and drop your shoulder down. Your hand on the ground can press a little bit to deepen the twist, but be mindful that bones are strong. So if you're pushing bones into floor, this is a lot of torque on the spine. Breathe into it. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, reach that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Curl your toes under and find your way into dog pose. Hug your hands toward the midline on the mat. So a little isometrics here to engage through your traps, your serratus. Bend your knees as much as you want to. So remember, it's always important to lengthen the spine before the hamstrings. So if your hamstrings are a little snug up, bend your knees. Give yourself a little break. Feel free to move around in your feet. So spread those bones apart. Maybe pedal your heels. Bending a knee, maybe the opposite hip lifts up. Just see any movement that's inviting to you. Breathe your way here. Can you relax your head? Can you feel the skin on your face kind of fall away from the bones? Melt into the inversion. If you feel too much pressure in your head, you can always do this pose with your hands against a wall or a chair or a piece of furniture so you're not down so low. All right, walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana, bend your knees a lot. Relax your head, bobble it around, maybe wag your tail, loosen your back up. Inhale for a halfway lift. Hold the tops of your thighs or your shins. Blocks are always a good choice too. Extending the spine. So let's stay in half Uttanasana for a moment. Spread out the bones of your feet. Lift the arches to the inner and outer thighs as you root the bones down. Find the extension through your spine. Let the femur bones move back without hyperextending the knees. So maybe the shin bones have a slight forward movement. Have some breaths here. What does it feel like to extend your legs, lift the sit bones, feel a slight inner spiral of the thighs so the sit bones widen. Then exhale and melt back down again. Soften, relax your head.
Push off your feet. Rise up, bring the arms to the sky. Open your chest. If you're dizzy, just tuck your chin and squeeze your palms toward each other. Pause for a moment there. When you're ready, you can reach the arms up if your arms go there. If not, put them where you want them to be. Cactus, open your chest. Feel a sense of big open breath. And then exhale and round in. Bring your forearms to touch. One more time. Cactus open, or arms can be straight too. Exhale and round in. Reach the arms to the sky. Take a breath. Exhale and bend your knees. And float forward. Relax your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Your legs get straighter. Exhale and melt back down. Let's grab our blocks now if you have them and bring them to the front of the mat. Take your right foot forward and your left foot back to a lunge. If your balance is a little off, you can always take your right foot out to the right more, get a broader base of support. The blocks can be on any height you want them to be. Extend the spine, move the shoulders away from the ears. Finding your breath again. Allow yourself to yield. Can you give your feet over to the floor? Can you feel that sense of dropping into the earth and the rebound that comes? Let's start moving here. So straighten your front leg to wherever your body naturally goes. Tuck your chin toward your chest and then bend your knee and lift your heart forward. So who cares where you're inhaling, where you're exhaling? Please just make sure you're breathing. That's more important than trying to figure out where the best place to insert an inhale and an exhale. Sometimes I think we overthink the breath. It's much more important to just make sure you're breathing well. Where do you naturally want to exhale? Where do you naturally want to inhale? Follow your natural impulses. Get to know what your natural impulses are. All right, come to a lunge. Find your balance. Come on up. So remember, you can have your arms anywhere you want them to be. If your shoulders are bothering you, keep your hands on your hips or bring your arms out instead of lifting your arms up to the sky. So find your crescent lunge, yield your feet, feel that grounding force, and then rise up out of the earth. Extending through your spine. If you're challenging your balance, you can look up toward the sky, finding the breath. And exhale and release your hands back onto the blocks. Walk your back foot forward, fold, relax your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down again. Step your other foot back. So now our left foot is forward, our right foot is back, extending through the spine. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Feel the reach through your vertebrae. Are your feet grounded? So even though your back heel is off the ground, can you feel that melting into the earth and then pushing off the earth to rebound into some strength? Spread open your collarbones. Let the shoulder blades slide down the back. Enjoy the openness in the hip flexor of your back leg. Let's start to move. Squaring hips the whole way. Straighten-ish the front leg to wherever your natural you go. Tuck the chin, inhale. Or exhale, just keep breathing. Chest is forward as you bend your knee. Just go back and forth. Slowly waking up the hamstrings a little bit, letting all the soft tissue, all your fascia warm up a little bit. Are you enjoying being in your body? Can you once again find those little hidden spots that we tend to tuck away? Bring your breath there. And then come to a lunge. Find your breath. You can always take your left foot out to the left more. Inhale and rise up. So any position you want with your arms. You can bend your elbows and have your palms out. You can stretch your arms out to the side, up. Palms can be at your heart, anywhere you want them to be. Especially if your arms end up coming up over your head. Be really mindful to not push the floating ribs out. Allow some integration. Lift the pubic bone toward the navel. Feel the hugging toward the midline with your inner thighs. Feel the yielding feet. How is your breath here? All right, let's go ahead and release the hands. Put your hands onto the floor. Come back to a plank. Once again, You can always put your forearms on the ground. You can always put your knees on the ground. You can always put your forearms on blocks. Support yourself however you need to. Shoulders are away from the ears. Find the midline. Hug toward it from your sternum to your heels. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. Okay, everybody put your knees down and decide whether you can come down to the floor with all one movement or if you have to bring one forearm down first and then the other. Come to lie down on the ground. Before we come into Cobra Pose, do some shoulder rolls. Shoulders up toward the ears, up toward the sky and down. And just notice the movement of the shoulder blades on the rib cage. All right, and then let's find Cobra Pose. Stabilize your core. Let your legs stretch and move into the earth. Reach up. Shoulders are away from the ears. Who cares how high you go? Stabilize your core against your spine. Exhale and melt back down. One more time. Inhale, rise up. Find your breath. Exhale to come down. It's so easy to hold our breath at the top of Cobra Pose. Try to be fluid. Bring your forearms in front of you and pick up your feet for a moment. And just windshield wiper your knees left and right. Okay. Then bring your legs down, learning how to stabilize the pelvis. We're going to do a couple of back bendy kind of things today. So just notice, tailbone moving toward the back edge of your mat, pubic bone lifting toward the navel. This is very different than just squeezing your butt cheeks toward the midline. See if you can stabilize using your glutes without feeling like you're compressing your sacrum. So relax everything for a moment. Lift your right leg up as far as it'll go and notice the compression in your low back when you have no support. So just let your belly relax, everything relax, and then release that back down to the floor. Now instead, let's engage our core. Pubic bone toward navel. Feel the glutes engage a little bit. Puff out the kidneys just a bit and lift that leg with that stability. So chances are you're gonna go a lot less high, but there's not gonna be that compressive feeling in your lumbar spine. Go ahead and release that leg down. Let's try the two different ways on the other side. So don't stay in the incorrect pattern for too long. I don't want you to hurt yourself, but let everything go. Don't have any muscular support around your vertebrae or pelvis, and just lift your leg and just notice what your low back feels like. And then let's go ahead and lower that leg to the ground and then engage. Pubic bone toward navel, engage your TA, feel your glutes, feel your core, and then lift that leg up. So our hamstrings and our glutes are engaged without squeezing to the midline on your sacrum, and feel the core. The front body is stabilizing the back body. So even though there's restriction, there's not as much range of motion, there's a whole lot more stability around your spine. Let's go ahead and release that down onto the ground. Come back up onto all fours, hands on the floor or fists on the floor, and swish and sway. You can circle your pelvis around a little bit. You can move through your shoulders, turn from one side to the other. Just let your back loosen. Take a little pit stop before coming back up to dog pose. Lengthen through your spine here. Find your breath. Deep inhale, long exhale. Let's lift the right leg straight up in the air, square hips. Stack your right hip over your left hip and stretch through the inseam of that hip. Find your breath here. If it's too much pressure to be three-legged, you can always do this with your knee on the floor and lift your hip up high. Finding the breath, you can bend your knee in the air if you want to. Try not to collapse through the underbelly of the pose. So that imagine a little Mary Poppins umbrella underneath your left armpit, lifting you toward the sky. And then square the hips, stretch that leg straight. Exhale, let's bring our foot forward, come into a lunge. If you need a different transition, take what you know to do so that you can find your way into a lunge. Let's go ahead and plant the back heel down and come up into Virabhadrasana 1. Can you still find that same stabilization for your lumbar spine? Perhaps you need to lean forward a little bit to find that. So pubic bone toward the navel, floating ribs in, engage the glutes on both sides. So feel the back leg work, but also press your front heel into the ground to engage your glutes on that side. Reach up to wherever your body goes. Maybe your arms are in a different position. You can even have your arms stretching back and reach through the crown. And then go ahead and release the hands toward the floor. The back knee is going to come down. Pad underneath it with a blanket if you need to. Inhale, left hand's on your thigh, or sorry, right hand's on your thigh. Reach the left arm up in the air and cross your elbow over. Your forearm can be on your thigh. Your elbow can be on your thigh. Goes wherever your body says go. Hug to the midline with your legs. Cross your hand over to, if your elbow's on your thigh, cross your hand over to your shoulder. Spread open your collarbones. Hug your front heel and the back knee toward each other to stabilize. Feel that psoas muscle open on that back leg. How's your breath? And then let's go ahead and release. Bring your front foot back, dog pose. Notice if there's a big difference between your two sides. Bend your knees as much as you want. Push off your hands. Extend your spine all the way to the pelvis. Stabilize by hugging the hands toward each other on the mat. Feel the invigoration through your torso instead of just relying on the shoulder joints to hold you. Inhale, lift your left leg up in the air. You can always put your right knee down onto the ground. Stack open the hip. Square to the wall to your side as best as you can instead of toward the floor. Open up through the rim of that hip bone. Lift underneath your left armpit. Feel the extension through your spine. And you can either extend your heel or bend your knee and extend your knee. How is your breath? And then square up the hips again. Take a deep breath in. Stretch that leg back. Exhale and bring your foot forward. However you get there. So you can always put your back knee on the floor to help you. Find the breath. Let's plant the back heel down. Just like in crescent lunge, if you want to take wider than heel to heel alignment, take wider. See what your body likes. Let's all stretch our arms behind us now. Move the shoulders away from the crown. Feel the crown reach away from the tail. Root into the feet. Stay low here for a moment. And as you start to come up, see if you can feel that sense of stability through the pelvis. Lift your pubic bone toward the navel. The ribs stay integrated. Hug to the midline with the inner thighs. Press both feet down into the ground to feel your glutes and hamstrings help you stabilize your pelvis. Come up if you want to bring your arms up too, great. Put your arms where you want them to be. Finding the breath. Relax your shoulders. If your arms are over your head especially, drop the shoulder blades down the back. Exhale and bring your hands toward the floor. Put your back knee onto the ground. Pad underneath it with some extra mat or a blanket if you need it. Find your way up. Your back toes can curl under or lay flat. See what's feeling more comfortable for your knee. When you come into this lunge, it's so easy to fall and just hang in the hammock of your pelvis. Instead, hug the front heel and the back knee toward each other to lift. Find the spine growing. Finding the breath. Let's find our twist. Lift the right arm up in the air. We're gonna bring the forearm or the elbow to the knee, maybe even the hand. So you just go where your body goes in a twist. Your left hand can press on your thigh to help lift the spine. Keep hugging to the midline. Press the front big toe into the floor, the front heel and the back knee toward each other. Spread open the collarbones. Find your breath to help you twist. All right, let's go ahead and release the hands back down onto the ground. Step your front foot back. Come onto all fours again. Cat-cow. All right, and then let's find our way coming to the floor. You can bring your body down and decide, what kind of Superman, Superwoman pose do you want to do? Do you want to have your arms back, arms out, arms up? Decide the position that's right for you. If your arms are up overhead, try turning your palms toward each other. This will keep some external rotation in your shoulders. Take a deep breath and lift everything you can up. Legs can be far apart or close. Find your sweet spot. Can you stabilize through your core? Use your glutes without squeezing your sacrum. Deep breaths here. Back of the neck stays long. Feel the back body work. All right, and then exhale and release your hands. You can either turn your head or put your forehead on your hands and just windshield wiper your knees left and right. Finding the breath. All right, let's put our legs down. Scoot your body over to the left side of your mat. I'll go left. And you don't have to do this if you're on a carpet or rug like I am. I just have you moving over so that there's a little padding. Bring your knee as high up toward your armpit as you can. And just feel your hip stretch. Maybe come in toward cobra pose. Sphinx pose. Put your forearms on the ground. Extend the spine. Allow some weight, like you have a sandbag on that hip, dropping down. And then we're going to stretch the arm, the left arm overhead, and take a deep breath in to find your way into a twist. Let the knee leave the floor. Don't overdo the twist here. Try not to hang your shoulder. Better to hang your knee off the ground. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then come back to center. Let's scooch over if you need to the other side of your mat. And bring your left knee up toward your chest. Forearms on the floor. Stabilize your low back. Try not to let it fall into the ground. Extending the spine, shoulder blades down the back. Deep breaths here. Feel the compression in the hip joint. Drop it in. Okay, and then go ahead and release that arm. Rest your head down. Inhale and find a twist. So you might need to, if you have a tiny space in your home that you're doing yoga in, you can always cactus your arm or bring your arm down at your side. There's ways to make you require less space. Deep breaths. Let the knee leave the floor. Don't overdo the twist. Come back to center. Come up onto all fours. Once again, feel some swish and sways in your hips. Just work out any kinks that you've got going on. Finding the breath in and the breath out. Come to dog pose when you're ready. Take any modifications you need. Bend your knees if you want. Actually, everybody bend your knees a little bit. Just feel the spine grow from that. Push off your hands. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. Let's walk our feet forward. Come into Uttanasana, fold. Wag your tail a little bit if it feels good. Relax your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Rise up, push off your feet. If the up downs make you dizzy, just keep your arms down, squeeze toward the midline with your hands. You can even cross one thigh over the other and squeeze. Once you get stable and steady, if you want, you can put a block between your thighs. You don't have to do this, but it might feel good for your knees. If your knees get wobbly in chair pose, go ahead and find your way into a chair. So if you're not using a block, you can have your feet hip width apart, or you can put your legs together, whichever's working for you. If you've never done it with a block, try it because it's really stable. It feels really good. Draw the knees back toward the pelvis. There's a little bit, especially if you have your arms up over your head, there's definitely a little back bend living in the thoracic spine here. Weight your heels, push them down into the floor. Feel the ribs draw into the body. Relax your neck. Choose a vector for your arms that feels really free, stable, good. What gives you the capacity to breathe, to open the chest? Can you feel your roots? Can you feel your spine grow? Let's find a twist here. Take a deep breath in. We're going to twist to the right. Arms are open up. Knees stay together. Inhale. Coming back. Exhale. Going the other way. If your shoulders don't like this, we're going to repeat it. You can just keep your hands on your hips. Inhale back. Keep the knees and the pelvis facing the front of your mat. Exhale, twist the other way. Inhale, rise all the way up. Take a deep bend, maybe open your arms to a cactus. Exhale and float back down again. Halfway lift, the spine grows. Exhale and bend the knees. Take that block out of there if you had it, and go ahead and stand back up. You can always support yourself by holding onto a wall or a piece of furniture. We're just going to do a quad stretch. So if you can't reach your ankle, grab a strap to put around your ankle. You can also use your pants if you happen to have pants on. All right, so find, just very simply, we're just stretching the quads. You can hold for support, or you can challenge your balance. You can put your arm anywhere you want it to be. Descend the knee toward the floor. Lift the pubic bone. Open up the collarbones. Find your breath here. Can you feel your standing leg? Is your foot yielding? Is your knee soft? Is your hip hugging in instead of popping out to the side? And then let's go ahead and release. Close your eyes for a moment. Enjoy 2 feet on the ground. Yield here. Drop your weight into the bottom of your feet. See if you can let your diaphragm sink into the pelvic floor. Maybe the diaphragm can even sink into the soles of your feet, like the soles of your feet are 2 diaphragms that are breathing with your diaphragm. Yield into the ground. In order to feel our connection with the earth, we have to have loose joints. If you lock out your knees, you lock out that connection. All right, let's bear weight. Sink into the left foot. Reach, grab onto your right ankle, the front of your ankle. Use a strap around your ankle if you can't reach. Descend the knee, descend the pubic bone, descend the tailbone and lift the pubic bone. Pay attention to your standing leg, whether you're holding on for balance or not. Have the stability in this leg. Try not to pop your hip out, hug the hip in, take your thigh bone back, soften your knee. Feel the openness in your foot, the yielding. Lift the spine. And then let's release your foot onto the ground. Let's pause here in Tadasana again. And just notice the journey through your physical practice. Is it taking you to the moment? Has the mind been suspended a bit from all the fluctuations? So let's have some gratitude for the way our practice serves us living in the moment and being in the body. Once again, scan your body for all those hidden places where you are like a little chipmunk and pocket a past experience or a little resentment towards someone or toward yourself. Where are those little nuggets that you can let go? Can you soften the knees? Can you feel that yielding into the earth? All right, now if you need support for balance for this next pose, get close to a wall. We're going to do dancer pose. Grab onto your left ankle again. Soften your right knee. We're standing on our right foot. Inhale. If it's comfortable for your shoulder, lift the arm up in the air. If it's not comfortable, bring your arm out to the side, or even stretching firmly down toward the floor. Feel the foot root and the crown rise. So root to rise. Find your breath. Start kicking that foot into the hand so there's a flex stretch in your quad and your hamstring. Extend forward. Soften the knee you're standing on. Try not to hyperextend. Don't worry about how far into this pose you go. Go as far as your body allows with breath, with a sense of stability. Are you allowing ease to be right there along with the effort? Detach from success or failure of balance. It's not what it's about. Let your gaze, your drishti be soft. How's your breath? And then go ahead and come back around 2 feet onto the ground. Let's just bounce here a little bit. Maybe you hop. Maybe you just bounce. Just let go of the one-legged thing. And just enjoy. Let's have some gratitude. Feel your feet. Let them touch the earth. Feel your breath, that diaphragm dropping to the pelvis, dropping to the soles of the feet. Let go. Gratitude for our 2 legs holding us up. We're going to change sides. So grab onto your right foot with your right hand. Your left leg is firm, but not locked out.
All right, so hip hugs in, thigh bone moves back, the knee is supple. Spread out the bones of your feet on the floor. Feel the floor, reach into it. Reach the arm up, out, back, hand on hip, where's best for your body. Extend the spine, drop the shoulders, open across the collarbones, square your hips, ribs, and shoulders to the front of your mat, and start to come forward. Once again, don't worry about how far you go. Make sure your knee is not locked out. You can even have a pretty good bend in that knee. It actually makes the work harder in your glutes and hamstrings if you bend your knee, but it can help you with keeping that connection to the earth. Stay in the breath. Wherever you're doing, stay in your breath. Relax the base of the skull, soften your gaze. Breathe deeply. Kick your foot into your hand. And go ahead and come all the way back up. Place that foot down onto the ground. Reach upward, big arc. Relax your arms down at your sides. Yield your feet, close your eyes. Feel how you are engaging with the earth. Can you feel a sense of openness across your chest without puffing and pushing your chest forward? See if you can be melting, humble, open. Breathing. Breathe into the bottom of the feet. And then inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, unfold, bend your knees. Relax your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and relax back down. Step back to a plank. You can always put your knees down or your forearms down. Shoulders are away from the ears. Relax your gaze. Hug toward the midline. Feel the stability in this posture. Stay in the breath. And then let's go ahead and find the floor. So put your knees down first so that you're supporting the shoulders. Come onto your belly. Now this is not for everyone, so you can grab a strap around your ankles to do Dhanurasana, and you don't have to. So there's lots of variations of back bends. You can choose one that's good for your body if this is too deep for you. If you can reach, grab onto your ankles. If you can't reach, try a strap around your ankles. If that still doesn't feel good, scrap it and make a different back bend choice. Try not to let the knees splay out to the side. Descend the tailbone, lift the pubic bone. Remember that first back bend we did where we were stabilizing the core and the glutes. Find that now. Take a deep breath. Kick your feet into your hands. Open the chest. Feel your diaphragm. Give a little push-up, right? Some good push-ups for your diaphragm, this pose is. Keep the neck long. Find your breath. In and down. Doesn't matter how far into the pose you go. And then exhale and relax. Turn your head to one side and windshield wiper your knees left and right. The arms are down at your sides. Turn your head the other way. And then release. Come up onto all fours, fists or hands. Finding the breath. Swirl things around. Swish and sway. You can be like a fish, kind of swaying from side to side. You can do some circles in your neck or pelvis. Just find any kind of movement that's releasing to the spine. As we come up, so don't go into child's pose. Let's avoid a deep knee flexion. Last dog pose. Extend. Feel the breath. See if you can bend your knees a little bit here. Take the heads of your thigh bones way back. Stretch through your spine. Relax your head. All right, and then let's come on to your knees and let's lie down on the floor. Okay, on your back. Still resist the urge just yet to bring the knees super close. I promise we will do that. If you have a strap, grab onto it and lift your right leg up in the air, strap across your arch. If you don't have a strap, just interlace your hands behind your hamstring or the back of your leg, wherever it naturally wants to be, and extend. Feel your foot rise up, your hip drop down. Feel your hip move away from the shoulder. If you're using a strap, be gentle so you don't have to reach so high up. Let your shoulders be soft. Now, especially if you tend to have some low back issues, when we cross the right leg over to the left, we're not going to go far, but you can keep active through your left leg. So internally rotate. This is if you have back issues or SI joint issues. Internally rotate your left thigh and cross your right leg over to the left, however far you want to go. So we're not going into a huge spinal twist. We're just trying to get to the outside of the hip, some of the muscles underneath our glutes. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. And then lift that leg back up. Take the strap off. Put your right foot on top of the left knee. Bend your left knee foot on the floor and come into reverse pigeon pose. So there's a few ways you can do this. You can grab onto the front of your shin if you're real deep in the pose. You can grab on behind your left thigh for a little bit more ease. And for my favorite variation that's even more easeful, you can put your left foot on a piece of furniture or on a wall, and that way your arms don't have to do any work. You can just let your upper body rest and let the spine soften onto the floor. If you are putting your foot against the wall, the closer you get to the wall, the deeper the pose. So just dole it out the way you want. How's your breath? Let's go ahead and release that. Deep breath in, 2 feet on the floor. Feel your spine resting down. Feel your exhales. Let's take the strap around your left foot. Lift it straight up in the air. Right leg can be straight on the floor. Right foot can be on the floor with your knee bent. Whatever's better for your pelvis. Extending the spine. Shoulders are soft. Reach your foot up without hyperextending the knee. Drop the hip down. Feel the left hip move away from your shoulder. How's your breath? Are you able to relax? Where are the pockets that you hold tension now? And then let's take the strap either in 2 hands or cross it over to the right hand. You can either keep your left foot flat on the ground with your knee bent. You can straighten your right leg. You can internally rotate that leg and point the toes straight up toward the sky as you cross the left leg a little bit over. So just feel that stretch in the IT band, the outer glutes. Feel you can even put your left hand in the hip crease and press it away if you want. Feel the extension of your femur bone away from the shoulder. Be mindful to not hyperextend the knee. How is your breath? How are your shoulders? And then let's lift that leg back up. Left foot comes onto right knee. You can either put your right foot onto a wall or grab behind your thigh or the front of your shin, however you're best in this pose. Now, whoever said you had to be totally still? So if you like rocking in this pose, swaying, just let your body find the ease. Sometimes movement helps us relax a little bit more than stillness. Sometimes stillness helps us relax a little bit more than movement. So find what's working for you. Can you stay in your breath? Can you relax the spine, relax the belly, relax the shoulders, the face? Okay, let's go ahead and release that feet, both of them onto the floor. We're going to take a simple twist. Knees are bent. Lift up your hips, scooch them to the right a few inches. Pick up your knees toward your chest and drop them left. Take a deep inhale and feel yourself surrender into the twist. If this is too far to get your knees to the floor, you can always stick a block underneath your left outer knee. Let your breath find its way here. Move the twist with the breath. And then lift your knees back up. Scoot your hips off to the left. The knees come up high and drop right. Support underneath your right outer knee or shin. If your body needs to go less deep, feel free to turn your head in opposition to your knees. Discover your breath. And then as we're ready, let's lift your knees back up. Now you get to do the desired deep flexion. So if you want to hold your feet and come into happy baby, or if you want to just bring your knees to your chest, if you want to be still, if you want movement, just discover what's going to make your spine feel free after some back bending. Sometimes I like to circle my knees. So as we move into Shavasana, there's no rush. So you do you. If there's some postures that your body's calling for, then follow your impulses. Trust yourself. And when you're ready for Shavasana, decide whether you want to be flat on the floor or if you need a little support. Maybe some blankets or bolsters under your knees. Maybe, being that we're all doing yoga in our house now, if you have a bed or a couch or a chair, maybe you want to take your calves up on something. This can be very comfortable too. So find any support that you need for Shavasana. Let's go ahead and experience the melting of the body. What does it feel like to relax your spine? To give way into the earth? To melt the back of the head? How does it feel to have your limbs get heavy? Is your breath with you, guiding you? Can you free up your belly as you breathe? Can your exhales take you deeper into softness? One last time, see if you can find those little pockets where you store some denial, some gripping, some tension. And just see what you can do to flow, to let your breath soften those places, to feel a sense of breeze of the breath moving through you, relaxing your face, your jaw.
As you begin to deepen your breath, feel once again this sense of surrender. Just marinate, relax in your surrender. To forgive is to put oneself in a larger gravitational field of experience than the one that first seemed to hurt us. We reimagine ourselves in the light of our maturity, and we reimagine the past in the light of our new identity, and we allow ourselves to be gifted by a story larger than the story that first hurt us and left us bereft. At the end of life, the wish to be forgiven is ultimately the chief desire of almost every human being. In refusing to wait, in extending forgiveness to others now, we begin the long journey of becoming the person who will be large enough, able enough, and generous enough to receive, at the very end, that absolution ourselves. So, as you find your way out of Shavasana, take yourself slowly there, stretch and move however is best, small bits, big bits, however you like to transition. Take your ease with you as you come to sit. Take your breath with you as you come to sit. As you find a good, stable posture, offer yourself out into that largeness of your expanded field. Holding grudges, what's the expression? You know, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get hurt. So let's release the poison of our own grudges. Relax into the flow of your heart. Open that heart space. Bring your palms together. And if you're able, offer your practice outward to someone who you either need to forgive or would like to forgive, or someone, including yourself, that you would like forgiveness from. Open your humble heart. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.